The Motorola Razr Fold and the Oppo Find N6. I've used both of these long enough to know which one I'd spend my money on, and it all comes down to one thing that most comparisons miss. Which one is worth it, or which one wins? Let's talk about it. Now, that one thing most reviewers miss that it comes down to is cost. What do these phones cost you? And I don't necessarily mean price. There's many other things that can cost you with these phones, and we'll talk about each of those. So first thing is the screen. One of them is creaseless and one of them is not. Is that really a deciding factor? So the inner screen, now it's kind of hard for me to hold them so you can see, but if you look at the two of them where I hold them at an angle, you might be able to see a crease more than one. But when they're both held straight up, you can't really see the crease as you can see here on these. So is a crease really a decision maker? For a lot of folks, they say it is, and you might see some reviews that say it is, but really, whenever you use a phone, you're looking at it directly and you're not looking at it at angles to where a crease would interfere. So that's not really a big decision maker, is it? And then there's always talk about software, and these are both Android, and the software is basically the same. Now, you do have a little bit more customization that you can do on the Oppo Find N6, which I really like. And you don't have that much on the Razr Fold where you can optimize or customize, I mean, as far as daily use, opening up apps, browsing, scrolling, doing things. Is there really any difference? And how about cameras? There's a lot of talk about cameras. Really, should you buy a phone based on cameras and performance? Well, that really all depends on what's important to you. As far as these two go, they both have 50 megapixel telephoto zoom, which is real important, which is something Samsung leaves out back to their 10 megapixel. And they both have 50 megapixel ultra wides, but this one has a 200 megapixel main camera versus a 50 megapixel main camera on this. But if you ever watch my other videos, when I talk about the 200 megapixel, I do still believe it's just a gimmick. So you're not getting much better performance out of 200 megapixels on this than you are on this one. Seen my most recent vacation video where I compared the two of this. The Oppo Find N has a problem with sun flare where you don't have that with the Motorola. So there is a little bit difference between the cameras. But in the end, both of them perform very well whether you're taking videos or photos day or night. So on the daily, the use of these phones, I don't think camera is really a big deciding factor. Now, one important thing that people talk about when you get a phone, you want it to last all day. You want to be able to not have to worry about plugging in and charging it. Now, both of these phones, as you know, they come with a 6,000 milliamp hour battery, which is great. That does, and I've confirmed it, full use on both of these all day long with their batteries. And even on heavy use, like on my vacation video where I took both of these out and used the cameras all day long, by the end of the day, they still had a huge percentage. They were over 50%. I think they were probably close to 70% still left on these phones. And another part of the battery is charging, of course, and they both have 80-watt USB-C charging and 50-watt wireless charging on the back. So in comparison, as far as the battery and life and longevity of these things, they are pretty much neck and neck. So that's not a deciding factor either. So now we've come down to price. Where do these things sit at price? I'm not talking cost yet. We're talking about the price between the two of them. Let's cover that. Now, when you're looking to purchase these phones, unfortunately, if you live in the US, this is not technically or actually a global phone. They call it a global version, which it is, but it's not globally available. In other words, if you're in the US and some other locations throughout the world, you can't just order this from the manufacturer. You have to order it through a third party. You got to pay taxes and shipping fees. So this thing can get anywhere from $1,900 to $2,300 and up. Where on the Razr Fold, if you live in the US, you can get this thing straight from Motorola. You can buy it from a carrier and it starts out at $18.99. So as far as price goes, the Razr wins there on price as far as getting it in the US. Outside of the US, these probably run pretty neck and neck as far as the cost in price. So when you buy each of these phones, they both have 16 gigabytes of RAM, which is great. And they both have 512 gigabytes of memory in them, where Today, the new foldables are coming out with 256. They're dropping it as far as Samsung goes, and I'm believe that's the way Pixel's gonna do it too, as well as the iPhone. But with these, you get the higher storage. So when you think about costs, it's not necessarily just the price. There's a lot more when you buy one of these things. It can cost you in other ways. For example, you buy the Oppo Find N6 outside the US, which I've done. Now, when I want to trade it in, guess what? I can't trade it in. I can't get trade-in value on this thing. So it costs me the same every single time I have to pay full price. Now I could try and turn around and sell it, but that could be a little bit difficult. And it costs you a lot of money just to sell it. Whereas the Motorola Razr Fold, when I bought it, I was able to trade in a phone for it. So I didn't pay $18.99. I paid around $1,000 because they were given incentives. Well, we can't get that on the Oppo Find N6. Now, another thing it could cost you is warranty services. Okay. This came from China. I can't really access warranty services that well because I bought it through a third party. So that makes it a little more difficult. Now I can buy a local warranty on it here in the US. So if I break or anything that might cover it, but that's not the same as from the factory, from the manufacturer having warranty and services on the Motorola Razr Fold. I have that with the purchase of the phone. So buying an Oppo costs you possibly in warranty and services. And then one more thing that I'll talk about as far as cost. Well, today in the US, maybe throughout the world, I'm not sure other locations, you can walk into most carriers and get this on your plan and get it for free or at a very heavily discounted price through your plan. And then, of course, along with trade-ins. So you get a great deal on getting the Motorola. You can't do that here. And then lastly, I guess, is really the cost of service. You know, you don't have carriers that will cover this phone. In other words, Oppo Find N6, I can use it on T-Mobile. I have no issues with it whatsoever. But I hear AT&T and T and Verizon, if you're not using their main plan, you may have issues. And then, of course, Verizon and AT&T, both, if you call them directly, they say they do not support the phone. Although I do have a lot of viewers that say they're able to use it without an issue because it is GSM's phone. Now, with that in mind, the Motorola, you don't have issues with carriers. It'll work on all of them here in the US. So that brings me to this. You know, as far as which one wins here in the US, undoubtedly the Motorola Razr Fold, simply because specs, everything is pretty much right there on par with the Oppo Find N6, and it doesn't cost you all those things buying a foreign phone. So this one becomes the one worth it and the one that wins, as far as I'm concerned. Well, there you have it. Now it's time to hear from you. I hope I answered your questions in this video on either one of these phones. If I didn't, do me a favor, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your question, and I do read all my comments, and I will respond to it. Now, if you got something out of this video, do me a favor, smash that like button down below because it really does help out the channel. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more content. Believe it or not, that's one thing that's actually free to subscribe to the channel. I don't charge you for that. Now, if you haven't seen the full review on these two or comparison, check out this video here. Until next time, have a wonderful day and God bless.